about it in the beginning, right? A lot of us haven't done movements like this before. It's going to feel weird. You're going to feel like you look ridiculous. Some of you probably might look ridiculous. Okay, that's fine. Okay. The goal is to get you guys coming out with why we're doing these A-skip progressions, and maybe you get something out of this that you can actually put into your running like tomorrow, and you start to feel a little bit better, a little bit more efficient on your run. Okay, does that make sense? All right. So the reason why we're doing skips, right, this A-skip progression, okay, I want you to focus on a few things. So besides trying to master the movements, right, these are all skills that we want to master. So any lower body plyometric, right, we're applying force to the ground and we're receiving force, okay? So we want to make sure that we're doing that efficiently. We want to make sure that our posture, our body is in alignment, so we're absorbing that force correctly. We want to make sure we're applying force to the ground, that we're doing that correctly as well. So we're applying with the larger muscles of our body, and we're absorbing that force with the larger muscles of our body. If we're off and we're out of alignment and we're off contact with our foot, right, all that force is going to go to places that we don't want it to go. Okay? And that's where overuse injuries start to kind of creep up over time. Okay? So when we're working on all these skips today, the underlying thing we're focusing on is applying force, making sure that's efficient, and receiving it at the same time. All right? So a few things we're going to talk about before we get into the skips is upper body posture. All right? So when we're talking about upper body posture, same thing we've been talking about since we've been together in this program. All right? Can you keep your rib cage stacked over your hips? Right? So that's number one. Right? So nice and neutral with the lumbar spine. Right? We're not rounded forward at the shoulders. Right? We're not slouched like that, and we're not extended. Right, rib cage going up towards the ceiling as we go, right, lower back in crunch, okay? So we don't want that. We want rib cage stacked over the hips. Can you maintain that through these movements? Because you're going to get fast, you're going to get violent, you're going to get explosive, right? So we want to stay disciplined with that organization. Okay? Next thing we want to talk about is upper body posture and rotation, right? So I want you to treat your arms. We talked about this in the sprints, right? That forearm is just like a bone saw. Right? So we're moving back and forth like this. That rib cage is rotating as we go. I don't want you to start doing these skips and look like a Lego man up top. Okay? So we need to be able to rotate as we're going. Right? The upper body rotation will dictate the legs. Right? So that all plays right apart. So now let's talk about the lower body. All right? So when we make contact with the ground, you want to make sure we've got a mid-foot strike, kind of forefoot strike, under the mass of the body. Right? So you see, if you look at Coach Buck from the side, when she comes up and comes down, she's applying that force right under her center of mass. Right? That's important. It's that little bounce that she has going on. That's that force application to the ground. So if we do that correctly, remember we talked about with the sprinting, the jump rope. You guys about jump rope before? Right? What happens as soon as your feet reconnect with the ground? What do? You go up because the rope has to get under. Right? I want you to think about that same reactive effect. Right? So think about that jump rope. Search for the spring. If you're not finding that spring-like feeling, right, that means we're not applying force correctly. Right? So that's something to pay attention to. Right? So the first one we're going to do, well actually the first three, very basic, right? So we're going to use these lanes right here. So we got 1, 2, 3, all right? We got 3 sections right here. You're going to start off with an A march to the first cone line, then you're going to go A hop to the next cone line, and you're going to finish with an A skip, which is pretty much just a basic skip, right? An exaggerated skip, right? And that's going to be all the way down. On your way back, you're going to finish with the last 3, which are a little bit more advanced, all right? Working on everything we just talked about, just adding a little bit more intensity and difficulty to it. Okay? So A march, all we're doing, right? It's an exaggerated march, right? And we're working on the upper body rhythm, right? Lower body, right? Force application, and underneath the center of mass as we go. That's the A march. Now, one thing I want you to focus on is we're moving forward by focusing on driving the hips forward, right? So I'm not reaching out with my leg, right, to go forward. I'm actually falling forward, right? Hips lead the way, and then I'm catching myself, right, that foot underneath the body. So that's the A march. The A hop, right, definitely have to lean forward on this one, right? You're essentially going to start with one leg up, and you're going to catch yourself on that leg that's up, and then just alternate legs, right? So we're going to fall forward, so Buck's going to fall, and she's going to catch herself. And you notice when she makes contact with her foot, where is it? it's right under her center of mass, right? So that's the goal. So make sure you catch yourself right under the center of mass. The next one is the A skip, right? So we're gonna start to get a little bit athletic, right? So notice the force application to the ground, making for a bounce, right? A continuous movement, right? She's leading the way with the hips, she's falling forward, she's catching herself as she goes, right? You notice the body posture, so we're rotating the rib cage, right? Bone solid forward. On the way back, so it's gonna get a little bit different, right? So one pause, right? Quick fix for these ones, right? If it feels awkward, go faster, right? So you want to think about cycling the feet fast. So think about that jumper, right? Quick, right? Impact to the ground, right? When we start to speed things up, we have to really pay attention to that spinal posture. A lot of times when we start to speed up, what happens, we either crumble here, or we start to lose that connectivity, so we get overextended, okay? So 1-1 pause, right? We're gonna strike the ground, and we're gonna end up with that same knee that's starting up in the start position, up every time, all right? So I'm gonna split these half and half. So in that first lane, you'll go one down one way, half on the right, and then down on the left, right? Notice she's still working on that fast arm action, that rotation up top. Okay? The next progression is 1-2. You don't have to split these. The 1-2 pause will correct itself. So what I mean by that is, you start with the right and end up on the left, right? Just like that, right? Right? So notice before she starts pulling and driving down, she's leaning forward, right? Those hips are leading the way, and she's working on that fast one. The last one is kind of like an advanced version of the first A-hop, right? So we're going to do a 3-hop, which is going to be 2 hops against the ground, and then we're going to alternate sides, all right? So what's going to look like, we're going to start up with one leg, we're going to lean forward, lead with the hips, we're going to get 2 hops, and then we're going to catch ourselves and switch, right? Catch ourselves and switch. So 2 hops, so find the bounce, right? We want to make sure we're bouncing through, okay? That was a lot. We'll be here to help, all right? Remember, the goal is the intent, so posture, position, upper body action, lower body action, and we're here to help, right? The goal is for you to have your sights set on that, right? The intent while we're doing this, try to take 10% of this, 1% of this out of this today, put it into your running technique.